right, we're live. All right, we're live here. Don't have anybody on yet. Hopefully we'll get a couple of people on here pretty soon. Waiting for some people to jump on. Had a couple of guys jumped on earlier when I was doing the test. I had never done a live stream before, so we did a live stream earlier. I see we had one person. I guess they jumped off. There he is. All right, if you're there, send me a chat right there. Let me see if you're paying attention. All right, so I'm here today answering questions for if you have any questions regarding pool table repair, maintenance, anything like that, that's what I'm here for. If you've been on my channel before, you know most of my videos, although we do some leather work and stuff like that. Most of the videos that we do, or that I do, are pool table related. So let's see if you got any questions in regards to pool tables, pool table brands, anything like that. Fire them at me. I'm ready and willing. Okay, we got one person on right now. We had a few others earlier. Like I said, when I started the chat up, can you hear me? I'm sure y'all can hear me. Let's see. So the last video that I did, and it's been, by the way, the last video that I did was a month or two ago, and I'll let you guys know that I got braces. So I've been kind of out of it for a little while, getting oral work done. Had one tooth extracted day before yesterday. I'm actually surprised I'm able to talk as well as what I can. But anyway, I have plans to do some more videos in the upcoming future. But I tell you, pool table business has been kind of slow lately. I guess it's the economy or what, I have no idea, but things have been really, really slow lately. I don't know if anybody else that's watching this, if you guys are pool table mechanics yourselves, and I'm curious as to what the industry looks like across the rest of the country. But I tell you, here in New Orleans, it's been really, really slow. So we still only have one person. Is that whoever it is that's watching right now? You want to say something? If you got a question you want to ask me? Now we got a couple of people. If you're just joining, jumped off again. Okay. I don't expect my first live stream to get all that many viewers. But it's cool. I don't mind. I'm sure that the audience for the live streams will eventually pick up. Okay, just keep jumping back and forth. Okay. Interesting. Well, anyway, like I said, if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions right at the moment in regards to pool tables. My last video that I did was in regards, was step 2, or the second portion of refinishing your pool table, and it dealt with the touch-up. If you haven't watched that video yet, I would strongly recommend that you go to watch it. Touching up is much more. Can use a lot more. Let's see. Okay. Doing touch-up work is a lot more useful to just about anybody that owns a pool table. So if you've got a table that's got some nicks or dings or dents and gouges, that kind of stuff, you can actually go in and do the touch-up work on an already finished table. But it is one of those steps that you have to do while you're in the process of refinishing the table. Otherwise, you just end up with a whole bunch of well, finished over gouges, finished over dents, dings, that kind of stuff. So if you're just joining us, as I've said before, I am taking questions in regards to pool tables. When I did the test earlier, I had a couple of people asking me some questions. If you got any questions, go ahead and ask them now. Super chat questions get priority, so obviously we don't have any questions right at the moment. So ask them. I'm more than happy to lend my 30 plus years of experience with moving, recovering, refinishing pool tables. More than happy to share it with you guys. So I guess we'll just wait a minute. Wait until we get some more people. Come on, anybody? Y'all don't have any questions for me? Let's see here. Ryan Gregory. Hello from Houston. Hello, Ryan. What's going on? Are you just a pool player? You bought a pool table? All right, question about a Brunswick Metro. What would you like to know about the Brunswick Metro? I'm a bit familiar with them. I know I can put them together. I've seen them. I'm not a Brunswick distributor. So when it comes to the Brunswick Metro, let me see if I can pull up a picture of the Brunswick Metro. Let me see here. I'm hoping you guys can still see me. Can't see y'all right at the moment, but that's all right. Let's see. Brunswick Metro. All right. Yes, I've seen the table before. I know they use them in. Let me close out of these. Brunswick Metros, I believe they use them in some tournaments, that kind of stuff. I would assume it's a well-built table. Don't know that much about them because, again, like I said, I'm not a Brunswick dealer. I don't sell that many pool tables. So could I put one together? Yes, I could. But let's see. Balls roll towards the long rails on both sides. Can you be a bit more specific? In the interim, visual timer 1. Hi, is there any way, anywhere where you can separate frame parts for a Brunswick table? Depends on most of them. Yes, depends on the table itself, but most Brunswick tables are what are known as knockdown tables, which means the entire frame will come apart. You just have to look for the nuts, bolts, and screws on them. G-Man, hello. Well, hello, G-Man. Ryan, if you can, be a little bit more specific. Balls roll towards the long rails on both sides. You can buy separate frame. Oh, okay, sorry. Buy separate frame parts for Brunswick. It's possible, I guess. If it's still a current model Brunswick, you could probably go through the Brunswick dealer. Otherwise, no, you probably couldn't buy them. You'd probably have to make them. Let's see. It's as if the slate is convex. Table and slate are level, but if you hit down the length of the table about 4 inches off the rails, they will start to roll towards the pockets. But it happens on both sides of the table. It could be. It could be. That's a tough one. If it's slate can warp over time. It's not very likely if you've got a good foundation that it's setting on. That shouldn't really happen. But it can warp if if you don't have enough support underneath it, it can start to warp, or I guess a more apt word would be sag. Had the mechanic tell me to get new slate. I've heard others claim you can get the wops out of it with frame bracing. Depends on how bad it is. I know how they make those the slate. When the slate is quarried, it's big blocks that they're popping up out of the quarry, and it's a diamond saw that they use to cut it into slices, or cut it into slabs, and that's rough sawn. Let's see. You helped me recover my table when Golden West. Recover my Golden West. You were my savior and guide. Turned out great. I never used machinist level, but they roll pretty good. Cool. You can use the ball roll technique on that too. But anyway, when they're making these, when they're finishing out the slate, it is a massive machine that it kind of looks like a planer. If you're familiar with a wood planer, they send these slates through there, and it's large diamond cups that hone all of the excess off of there. So having it not come out true from the processing plant where they hone it out and everything, having it warped from there is not very likely. I mean, it sounds to me more like you've got a sag in the slate, which, yeah, your best bet to get that out of there would be to use some wedges in various parts of the slate. Again, you'd have to refer back to my how to level a pool table video to see how to get rid of that. So let's see. Going back to Visual Timer 1, yes, like I said, you'd probably have to go to a Brunswick distributor if you're looking for a specific frame part, and that table is no longer made. You'll probably have to make it yourself. But otherwise, if it's still a current model table, you could possibly get it from a Brunswick distributor. But I can tell you, it's going to be expensive. If you go through a Brunswick distributor, it's going to be like going to the dealership for your car. The parts are going to be expensive. Let's see. Ryan says, yeah, I know how people correct center sag with wedges, and is like the opposite of center sag. Well, I would the first thing I would do if it were me, I would take the slates back off of it and see if there's a crown in your frame. So, you think I could wedge along the edges? Of course you can. Yeah, absolutely. G-Man says when my 3-piece was apart, it took some doing to get the seam ready for wax. Yeah, well, yep, it would. I'm guessing you used wax instead of Bondo. But anyway, yeah, typically I use Bondo instead of wax, but depends on where you are. Okay, yeah, you did. Going back to Ryan's, I would say, again, like I said, I would go back in, I would take a straight edge, a known straight edge, and check to see if there's a crown in the frame of the table. When you put your straight edge across the length of the table, or going side to side on it, if it rocks at all, you have a crown in it. So the seam's level. Not sure I understand. Let's see. What do you mean the seam is level? That's what it's supposed to be, level. Let's see. Eric Witten, for a pool table, what's your favorite cloth for a pool table? Good question. My personal preference would have to be the Championship Tour Edition or Championship Pro-Am. From an installer's standpoint, it's got a little bit more stretch to it. It installs easier than Simonis does, and this isn't to detract from Simonis. Simonis does make a good cloth, but from an installer's standpoint, I find Championship to be a superior cloth to install. You end up with a much cleaner install of it. Championship doesn't have as much stretch to it, so when you go to make your bends at the pockets, you typically have to cut higher up. So, touch my camera through the fence. Okay. Don't know what that means, David. Let's see. Is there anywhere on the table that will tell you the year the table was produced? What type of replacement pockets would you recommend for a Brunswick contender? All right. Sometimes the manufacturers will stamp on the top of the slate itself, right at one of the corner pockets, a date code. Usually it'll be the day, month, and year that the slate was made for that table, which is going to be pretty close to when the table was actually made, within a month or two. Maybe a year's difference at most, typically. But as far as a tag, a universal tag that anybody that they would put on it, no, they don't typically do that. Brunswick does have a name tag that they usually put on the frames of tables, but those can get peeled off. They can get lost over time, and you wouldn't necessarily know when the table was made. As far as replacement pockets, and that's a good question. There used to be a couple of companies in the United States that made pockets. One of them was Hood Leather Goods, and Hood was the most recent, but they went out of business. Before that, there was another company. There was Hood Leather Goods, and there was a company called RC Designs. RC Designs went out of business, I'm going to say 10 years ago or so. Hood went out of business, I'm guessing a year and a half, 2 years ago. But all pockets that I'm aware of are going to be out of China, and they're pretty much all going to be the same. I mean, there is a company out of New York called Bankshot Billiards that does pocket restorations. But I wouldn't generally go to them for a set of modern pockets, because it's not necessary. Modern pockets, you can get those anywhere, eBay even. I sell them on my website, billiardsofneworleans.com. But no, you don't. They're all pretty much going to be the same. If I had my choice, I would probably steer clear of aluminum pocket irons. RC Designs used to use a lot of. They used aluminum for their underlying metal underneath all that leather. Hood used actual cast iron, so they would actually pour the castings. So. G-Man says, "Oh, I installed some cloth from Amazon, CPA China. I've had over a year, and it's wearing pretty well, but a lot of little burn marks from use, like spots." Is that Andy cloth that you bought? I'm just curious. Burn marks happen. I mean, there isn't much you can do about it. Old balls. I had a customer called me up 2 days ago, and he was asking what caused the burn marks on his table. And yeah, he was telling me that the balls were old. When I said that old balls that are oxidized and scratched and scuffed and dented, that kind of stuff, naturally it's gonna give more friction on the cloth, and the more friction you have, the more burn marks you're going to have. You can reduce it by going with a cloth that has Teflon, which I would assume that the Teflon would help. But really what does it better than the Teflon is just having brand new balls, and watching how hard you hit into the ball with the angle that you're hitting the cue ball into the table. If you're going at too steep of an angle and you're pushing that cue ball into the cloth, yeah, you're going to get more burns. China Billiards. I don't remember the acronym. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Chinese cloth. I strictly buy from either Championship. They're my preferred. They're my go-to cloth, or I'll go through Simonis if that's really what the customer wants. I don't really buy. Steer clear of China. Anybody else? What other questions? Come on. Send me some more questions. I don't mind answering them. Out of curiosity, have any of you guys been watching the Johnny Depp trial? I know I have. Come on, nobody going to answer that one? Y'all aren't going to fess up that you've been watching Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? Ryan says he's watched it a bit. Let's see. When I recloth, my side pockets didn't have anything to staple to. You've read some articles about Johnny Depp and Amber. Let's see. When you didn't have anything in the side pockets to staple to, I'm assuming then that you don't have framed slate. Typically, if you don't have anything to staple to, the other option is glue. Where is it? Yep, got a can of it right here. Always keep a can. This stuff is awesome. Okay, 3M, high strength 90. This is the stuff you need. If you don't have, if you can't staple it down, this is the stuff you use. Awesome stuff. Yeah, I've been mesmerized by the Johnny Depp trial. Looking forward to seeing what the verdict is going to be. I'm guessing they're gonna do it on Tuesday. Let's see. Framed, yes, but was recessed in so far in the table in the side pockets. Yeah, I've seen that before. You can build that back out. If it's recessed too far in, I mean, you can get filler wood and glue it into place, cut it out a little oversized, and then come back with a router. And my outdoor pool table video that I did, I showed how to replace the frames on a slate. Well, you can do the same thing without replacing the entire frame. If you need to, you can actually fill in the void and trim it off flush with fill it in with wood, and then trim off all of the excess with a flush cutting router bit. Okay, what do you use to get a stain out of cloth? What kind of stain? I mean, is it a blood stain, wine stain, Coca-Cola? That really depends on what kind of stain. Eric, you want to be a little more? What kind of stain is it, man? Ray Dude, thanks for your live stream. My pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Look, I've been doing pool tables a long time, and I've seen just about anything and everything. I I'll tell you what typically what I use to get stains out. If it's just generic stains, okay. There's a product that I use. It's called Folex, Folex, like Rolex, but with an F. Okay, Folex. You can pick it up at Home Depot. It's relatively cheap. A large bottle of it will set you back maybe 10, 15 bucks. But then I've also got a steam cleaner, and that's actually, oh, it's a blood stain. Okay. Try some OxyClean. Try the Folex. Try steam. And if necessary, you might need to rent an upholstery cleaner. I have one. I've used it on cloth before. Typically, what I have to do is if a customer wants me to get stains like that out, I will go in and pull the rails off of the table, so that all that I'm left with is the bedcloth. Leave the bedcloth attached. I'll spray it down with Folex, maybe agitate it a little bit with a soft bristle brush in the stains, the worst portion of it. G-Man, I'll get to your question in just a second. And then I'll use a steamer, and then come back with an upholstery cleaner, an upholstery, like a wet dry upholstery actual vacuum that's it's like it's a machine for cleaning upholstery. But then I'll leave it set overnight. Once I'm all done cleaning it, I'll let it set overnight so that bedcloth can dry. Once it's dry, you can go back in, put your rails back on. Let's see. When is it time to recloth? What are the signs? Too many nicks in your cloth, cuts in your cloth, just general wearing out. If you're going to take the rails off of the table, and see, this is if you're not used to seeing what brand new cloth looks like, your table will get, or your cloth will get worn so gradually over so many years, you don't see it. You don't see any changes from day to day. So one of the best things to do is, you can take a light and you can shine up underneath where the rail is. You can shine in that spot where the ball doesn't get to, and use you can have a visual comparison between what's underneath the rail and what's out in the playfield. If what's underneath the rail is nice and fuzzy and nice and crisp color and no burn, the burn marks are going to show up on the center, but you will definitely see where one bit of cloth is worn more, one section of the cloth is worn more than what's underneath there. If it starts getting too bad, it's time to replace it. Age is another one. It's just, I recommend every 5 to 7 years, replace the cloth with moderate use. If you're using the table a lot, you can reduce that down to 2 to 3 years. If it doesn't get any use, I'd say, after about 10 years, it's time to replace it, even if that cloth's not really getting used at all. So the signs, again, wear. I mean, it's just wear. How much you're seeing a difference between what's underneath the rail where the ball can't touch and what's out in the playfield. Let's see. A lot of use. I have the burn a no. If it's a lot of use, yeah, you have the burn line along underneath the rails. Yeah, probably time to replace it. Like I said, if it's a lot of use, expect to change that cloth out every 2 to 3 years, maybe even less. Bar rooms. This was something that I think I may have touched on a while back, but bar rooms will get their tables recovered every 6 months to a year. They just get that much use. Average cost to recloth. I charge for championship Invitational with Teflon. $450. That's base price. If you're wanting a higher end cloth, I don't sell a lower end cloth, so as far it's expensive. I don't sell a lower end cloth so that it can be cheaper. I just don't trust lower end cloths. So yeah, and my cost is pretty high on those championship cloths, and you got to figure once you pay your help. For somebody like me that's doing it as a business, I've got to pay my help. I've got to pay for the cloth, insurance, everything like that. Yep, it starts. You got to charge that much, and believe it or not, I'm not the most expensive in the New Orleans area. My competitor, the competitor that's the closest to me in cost, that same job is close to $600. So let's see, what grade do you put Simonis? I don't follow the question, Gary. What do you mean, what grade do I put? I did a video a while back for Pool Tablecloth 101, and I mean, I give my recommendations. Some people probably think I'm an idiot for some of my recommendations. When it comes to, let's see, Simonis is the brand of cloth I have on my table now, just getting into it, looking for down the road. If you're recovering it yourself, that's just labor, correct? No, that's full-blown $450 cloth, everything. Yep, includes covering the rails, everything. It doesn't cover put a new rubber on the rails. If we're putting new rubber on the rails, that's an additional $450 because again, we've got return trip going out there. Plus, changing out rubber is pretty time consuming. All right, I have my recommendations when it comes to a higher end cloth like Simonis or like Championship Tour Edition or their Pro-Am. Their Pro-Am, Championship Pro-Am is going to be more similar to Simonis 760. The Tour Edition is going to be more similar to Simonis 860. 860 is a slower cloth, 760 is a faster cloth. Again, Tour Edition is going to be a slower cloth. Pro-Am is going to be a faster cloth. Usually I will take into consideration when somebody starts talking higher end cloths, they're telling me they're a better pool player and that's what they want. I'm going to start asking them what game they play, and what size table it's going on. The faster the cloth, the more spread you're going to get on the balls from a break. The slower, the less spread you're going to get. Now, I bring that over to the size of the table and the game you're playing. If you're playing 9-ball and you're playing on an 8-foot table, I don't particularly recommend going with a very fast cloth for 9-ball on a small table. All the balls, you make the break, all the balls go to one end of the table, they bounce off, they go to this end, and then they come right back. So you end up with that cluster, more likely to get that cluster on one end of the table. I'd prefer to slow those balls down just a little bit on a smaller table. Conversely, if you're playing 8-ball, straight pool, bank pool, that kind of stuff on a larger table, I would suggest going with a faster cloth. So that's thread count on the cloth. They don't give me the thread count on the cloth. And if they do, I've never really paid attention to it. I mean, it's not like buying sheets. Yeah, they don't give me the thread count. Never ask them for it either. Has anyone ever seen the thread count on Simonis? Just out of curiosity, I'm asking you guys. No one? No, I didn't think so. Yeah, they don't. It's not like buying sheets where they actually give you the thread count on it. and I, the actual makeup of the cloth, the what they're putting in. I think Championship actually uses, and don't hold me to this. I'm not going to swear to this, but I think they use they actually use some spandex in it, which gives you that additional stretch. Tapestry. No, I don't. A lot of people hear thread counts when they start talking about when they start talking about fabrics and that kind of stuff. But again, I mean, the manufacturers of these cloths aren't going to really give you the thread count. They don't really need to. Let's see, Gary again. When I picked up the table, the sales guy told me, but I can't recall. I mean, I can go over to Brunswick's. I mean, not Brunswick. Simonis's website. All right. Well, I tell you what. If y'all want, go check out Brunswick or Simonis's website and see if they give it on there anywhere. I know Championship doesn't. Let's see, Benny. I have a Gold Crown 1 table, and the cushions have been replaced by Gold Tech cushions. Have you ever heard of them? Nope, never have. Is that the company that actually replaced the rubber on it, or is that the name of the rubber, or both? Is it their own in-house rubber brand? Anybody got anything on that Simonis cloth yet for thread count? I'm curious now. You got my curiosity going up. Out of curiosity, Benny, what did you? How long have you had that Gold Crown 1? No, nobody going to answer it. Come on, Benny, tell me. Let's see. Sorry, I've got a couple of things I got to clear out of here. Hey there from Maui. Cool. Ducky 149. What's up, Ducky? You got a question for me, man? So, have all of you guys actually watched my watched most of my videos, and which one do you think was the most helpful for you? I'm curious. Gary, let's see. He gave me a bunch of different numbers, maybe a different model numbers. That's probably what it is. I mean, let's see. That's probably what it is. I mean, you got Tour Edition 3030, and why they chose that number, I have no idea. The Pro-Am Championship Pro-Am goes by the number of 3020. Simonis has Simonis 860 and 760. Does that equate to thread count? No, it doesn't. Benny, that's the name on the cushions. I think they might be made in China. I've had it about a month. How's it play? Could very well be. I mean, it could be before I answer this, did you actually have to take your rails and send them off to them? They did the rubber and then sent it back to you. I'm curious as to how that went down. Ducky, just trying to learn from the master. I like the table resto. Oh, well, thank you. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a master. I know that there's a lot of guys out there that have been doing this a lot longer than me. They're not on YouTube. I know these guys. I know who they are. And there are some guys that I go to when I have problems. Benny, I just bought it. Okay. All right. So they replaced the rubber before you bought the table, and that's the company. It's possible that, and I haven't heard of anybody doing this, but I guess it's possible. that there may be somebody out there that's doing a service where you send your rails off and they will put their in-house brand rubber on there. I would assume that that's probably just a generic rubber that they're having private labeled for them. Could be. I don't know. I do know that opening up a plant for manufacturing rubber would be very, very expensive. So Gold Crown 1 is a cool table, though. Out of curiosity, what'd you pay for that table? Because I bought one and sold one not too long back. It was in pristine condition. Really, really nice table. It plays well, but the cushions seem a little high. All right. If the cushions seem a little high, that could very well be because they may have put K66 rubber on there. And I can tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Gold Crown 1 is supposed to have K55 rubber on it. And yes, it is a different profile on it. And if I'm not mistaken, if you put K66 rubber on a K55 table, the nose height would be a little bit too high. So that might be something you want to check into. Let's see. Anybody else? Oh, look at there. We're up to 8 people on here. And I've been flapping my jaws now for 41 minutes already. By the way, don't know if y'all saw my last video. You paid $18 for it. Good condition overall. All right, so I started to tell you. Don't know if you saw my last video about part 2 of the restorations. Look, got train tracks these days. Still waiting to get the bottom ones put on. Had a back molar taken out day before yesterday. I'm really, really surprised that I'm able to speak as well as I can because I got a big hole in the back of my bottom jaw. Is my jaw swollen? Let's see. By the way, $1,800 for a Gold Crown 1 is not a bad price, provided it's in good, at least good condition. The last one I had, it was in. When I say pristine condition, it was like the every single part just came out of the box from the factory. It was a 1967 Gold Crown 1. And I sold it for just under $6,000. So $1,800 is a good deal on that table if it was in good shape. Let's see. Ducky 149 is there an Olhausen to stay away from in the used market? That's a good question. Yes, there are. I can't give you the exact model. But yes, there are a few Olhausen tables that you would definitely want to stay away from. Olhausen has made tables made out of particle board, where the main cabinet was particle board. The aprons are particle board. I would stay away from anything that has any particle board in it like that. Chipboard, wafer board, particle board, MDF. Call it what you will. It's sawdust with glue, okay? And I steer clear of all of those. And Olhausen was not immune to using particle board at least one point in time. Let's see. Any recommendations on how to Band-Aid a ferrule ding in the cloth? Nothing good. I mean, nothing that's not going to leave a lump. Needle and thread, you would leave a lump. What kind of cloth is it? Out of curiosity. Gary again. Ouch! Not enough ibuprofen in the world for that. Actually, it's not that bad. I've been on 300 milligrams of hydrocodone slash acetaminophen. It's 300 milligrams total for both, so it's not a very potent hydrocodone. So, but it is enough to knock any little bit of pain, and the rest of it I can actually deal with. It's not that bad. Let's see. Tell him there's a Noah's height gauge. I'm guessing you're saying nose height gauge. He can check in like an owl with a notch in it. Tells him, yeah, you can get a nose height gauge. Try. Let me see. Who is it? There's a website, Mueller's Sporting Goods, and their website is poolindarts.com. POOL, the letter N, darts, DARTS.com. There's a table maintenance section on their website, and I do believe they sell nose height gauges. And yes, that would tell you if your nose height on your rail is too high or too low. Gary says it's Simonis cloth. Yeah, Simonis is a worsted cloth, and it's not unlike a wool suit, a man's suit, okay, where you get a hole in it or something like that. I mean, I've had suits before that have gotten a moth hole in it, and I'd have to bring it to a tailor, and they have to actually take another piece and weave it in. And that's probably what would have to happen. But even then, around the perimeter of it, you're going to have a high spot where you've got double the amount of threads that it's supposed to have. So there really isn't a good way. Even trying to stitch, doing a whip stitch around to close it back in, you're going to have a lump right there where the thread is. So, let's see, Benny. They seem like good cushions, but I just can't find any info on the table. It's in excellent condition. I bought it from Audie Wallace from Vegas. He's been in the pool table business for a long time. I don't know Audie, but, it's kind of hard to go wrong with a good Gold Crown one. Out of curiosity, is that were you there when they installed it? I know the Gold Crowns had, let's see, Brunswick at that time period used two different, they didn't use slate for every one of their tables. They had what they called a Brunstone, which was a synthetic slate. It was a tad lighter than regular slate. Still heavy stuff, but it was a tad lighter. I'm curious, that Gold Crown one, did it have Brunstone? Was it a darker color, almost a brownish, like a reddish brown color slate, or was it actual slate, gray slate? I'm curious. Yes, Noah's height gauge shaped like an L with a notch in it. Yeah, it actually kind of looks like. Yeah, it does. It looks kind of like this, but smaller. And yeah, there's a notch cut in it. You just set it on the bottom of on there, and you would, check to see where the nose height is. And it should tell you K66 or K55. Let me see if. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't use one. I just, I do the actual measurements with a vernier caliper. But on those nose height gauges, isn't it both sides where you can turn it around or something like that to check the difference between K55 and K66, U23, that kind of stuff? I don't know. Do they have different notches in there for the different height, nose height profiles, or just curious? I don't know. All right, any more questions for me? We're running up on 50 minutes here on the Q&A. Any more questions for me? Well, I'm going to try to do this a bit more often. I kind of like this off-the-cuff type, this off-the-cuff type interacting with you guys, and hopefully I can do more of these lives. This seems to be a little bit easier than getting the camera together. That I got a pretty big camera system. Hang on, be right back. I'll show you. Hold on. So this is my camera. This is my camera that I use for shooting the videos. Okay. And as you can imagine, getting this thing together, getting it all set up for shooting a video is not the easiest thing in the world to do. And then editing and everything. That's one of the cool things about going live is that, like I said, it's off the cuff. I don't really have to worry about doing an awful lot of editing. I don't have to worry about getting that big camera all set up and everything. Yes, slate with pins in it, very thick, and weren't adjustable. So I made them adjustable and painted and polished the metal parts to keep up the good work. Oh, thank you. So yeah, that's like I said, on those Gold Crown ones, that was kind of a testing period for Brunswick, where they had that what they called a Brunstone. It's a synthetic slate. It's kind of brownish color, brownish red, and I mean, it's still good stuff. I was just curious. It's not very often that I run across them. I have run across them in the I have run across them with the Brunswick anniversary tables, Gold Crowns 1 and 2. Don't think I've ever seen it in a Gold Crown 3. But anyway, Denny. Oh, yeah, that is a nice setup. A lot of money tied up in that. And that's actually thanks to viewers coming to the channel. That the revenue that I've made, actually, the revenue that I've made off of YouTube for the past year and a half that I've been monetized has just barely covered the cost of that camera. I don't make an awful lot. I don't make an awful lot from YouTube. That whole camera setup right there was probably, I don't know, $3,500, $4,000, something like that. That's not counting the microphones and stuff. Now I don't count this microphone. This one's not even